First performed in 1947, A Streetcar Named Desire is widely regarded as Tennessee Williams's greatest play and a landmark of 20th-century American theater. Set in the French Quarter of New Orleans, it explores the collision between old-world romanticism and modern brutalism, embodied in the characters of Blanche Dubois and Stanley Kowalski. The play won the Pulitzer Prize for Drama in 1948 and continues to resonate with audiences for its psychological intensity, poetic realism, and unflinching depiction of human fragility. Plot summary. Scene by scene. The play is structured into 11 scenes rather than traditional acts. Williams forgoes conventional divisions to create a more fluid, cinematic rhythm. Scene 1. Arrival and unease. Blanche Dubois arrives in New Orleans, seeking shelter with her sister Stella Kowalski, who lives with her husband Stanley in a modest apartment. Blanche, dressed in white, seems refined but unstable. She reveals that their ancestral home, Belle Reve, has been lost. Stanley is immediately suspicious and confrontational. Analysis. The play opens with contrast. The delicate, neurotic Blanche versus the earthy, crude Stanley. Blanche's entrance is symbolic. She steps off a streetcar named Desire, then cemeteries, suggesting a journey driven by lust and ending in death or spiritual ruin. Scene 2-3. Stanley's suspicion and the poker night. Stanley demands proof that Blanche didn't sell Belle Reve fraudulently. Blanche flirts with Stanley but conceals details. Later, during Stanley's poker night, Blanche meets Mitch, one of Stanley's friends, and they connect. Stanley becomes drunk and violent, hitting Stella. Blanche is horrified. Stella forgives him, returning to him intimately after the fight. Analysis. Williams presents toxic masculinity through Stanley, violent, possessive, yet sexually magnetic to Stella. Blanche is repulsed but fascinated. Stella's return after abuse shows emotional dependence and sexual submission. The poker scene symbolizes male dominance and hostility, with Blanche as an intruder. Scene 4-5. Blanche's illusions. Blanche urges Stella to leave Stanley, calling him animalistic. Stella refuses. Blanche flirts with a teenage newspaper boy, revealing her impulsive sexual behavior. She tells Stella she is awaiting word from Shep Huntley, a wealthy admirer, illustrating her fantasy of rescue. Analysis. Blanche's yearning for Shep represents delusion and escapism. Her past haunts her, and she copes by constructing fantasies. Her inappropriate behavior toward the boy hints at past indiscretions, and her instability becomes clearer. Scene 6. Blanche and Mitch's intimacy. Mitch takes Blanche on a date. She tells him about her young husband who killed himself after she discovered he was gay. They bond over loss and loneliness. Mitch is moved and kisses her tenderly. Analysis. This scene is Blanche's emotional peak, a moment of vulnerability and possible redemption. Her confession about Alan Gray reveals trauma, guilt, and fragility. Her relationship with Mitch offers hope, but is also built on half-truths and illusion. Scene 7-8. Stanley's exposure of Blanche. Stanley discovers Blanche's past in Laurel. She was fired from her job for an affair with a student and lived in a hotel known for prostitution. He tells Mitch and confronts Blanche at her birthday dinner. Mitch doesn't show. Stanley gives Blanche a bus ticket back to Laurel. Stella goes into labor. Analysis. This is the beginning of Blanche's collapse. Her lies unravel, and Stanley's cruelty peaks. The bus ticket is a psychological blow, symbolizing rejection, exile, and degradation. Blanche's facade of gentility is no match for Stanley's blunt realism. Scene 9. Mitch confronts Blanche. Mitch arrives drunk and confronts Blanche. She tries to deny the allegations, but then admits to her past. She pleads for understanding, claiming her lies were meant to preserve magic. Mitch, humiliated and disappointed, attempts to have sex with her but she resists. Analysis. This is Blanche's moral nadir. Mitch is both a victim and aggressor, craving love but punishing Blanche. Her line, "I don't want realism. I want magic," epitomizes her character, someone who lives through illusion to escape pain. Scene 10. The rape. Stanley returns home while Stella is in the hospital. Blanche is fully delusional now, believing Shep Huntley is coming for her. Stanley mocks her, and in a shocking climax, he rapes Blanche. Analysis. The rape is the ultimate violation of Blanche's dignity and personhood. Stanley asserts dominance in every way, physically, psychologically, and sexually. Williams dramatizes the conflict between brute force and fragile idealism, with Stanley's act representing the destruction of art, femininity, and illusion. Scene 11. Blanche's institutionalization. Stella, now holding her newborn, chooses to believe Blanche's accusations are false. A doctor and nurse arrive to take Blanche to a mental institution. Initially resistant, Blanche eventually leaves, saying, "I have always depended on the kindness of strangers." Analysis. This final line is deeply ironic and tragic. Blanche is broken, abandoned by family, victimized by men, and now places her trust in strangers because those closest to her failed her. Her descent into madness is complete, but she remains dignified in her own delusional way. Character analysis. Blanche Dubois. Blanche is a faded Southern belle whose world has crumbled. Haunted by past trauma and disgrace, she masks pain with lies, alcohol, flirtation, and fantasy. She is fragile, poetic, and theatrical, symbolizing the decline of genteel Southern values and the vulnerability of those who refuse to adapt. A woman's charm is 50% illusion. Blanche is a tragic figure, sympathetic yet flawed, victimized yet complicit in her downfall. Her lies are not malicious but survival mechanisms in a world that values youth, beauty, and purity. Stanley Kowalski. Stanley is a working-class Polish-American, exuding physical confidence, pride, and aggression. He represents modern, industrial America, pragmatic, unsentimental, and brutal. "Every man is a king. And I am the king around here." Stanley's need to assert dominance, especially over Blanche, arises from class resentment and threatened masculinity. He sees through Blanche's pretensions and is determined to expose and destroy them. He is both a symbol of realism and a perpetrator of violence, embodying Williams's critique of hypermasculinity. Stella Kowalski. Stella is Blanche's younger sister, caught between Blanche's romanticism and Stanley's brute force. Though gentler than Stanley, she is emotionally dependent on him, choosing passion and survival over truth. There are things that happen between a man and a woman in the dark that sort of make everything else seem unimportant. Stella's complicity in Blanche's fate reveals her own moral compromise and reflects the broader theme of passive acceptance in abusive relationships. Harold, Mitchell. Mitch is sensitive and sincere, but also constrained by social norms and maternal influence. His initial kindness offers Blanche a lifeline, but he cannot accept her imperfections. His ultimate rejection of Blanche reflects the societal pressure on women to be pure and the hypocrisy of male sexuality. Major themes. 1. Illusion versus reality. Blanche's survival depends on illusion, about her age, past, and future. Her fantasies contrast with Stanley's harsh realism. The conflict between fantasy and fact lies at the heart of the play. While Blanche needs illusion to live, Stanley insists on truth, though his truth is cruel and reductive. Williams suggests that truth without compassion can destroy, and that illusion can sometimes offer dignity and hope. 2. Desire and destruction. Desire is a driving force in the play, sexual, emotional, material. Blanche's past is defined by desperate, destructive desire. Stanley and Stella's marriage is built on physical attraction, even amid abuse. The streetcar named Desire becomes a metaphor for life's relentless, irrational pull, often leading to ruin. They told me to take a streetcar named Desire, then transfer to one called Cemeteries. This symbolic route charts Blanche's journey from desire to downfall. 3. Madness and trauma. Blanche's descent into madness is gradual and deeply rooted in past trauma. Her husband's suicide, loss of family estate, and public disgrace. Williams presents mental illness with sensitivity, showing how society ostracizes those who are emotionally fragile. Madness, for Blanche, becomes a retreat from a hostile world, a form of protection and, ironically, liberation. 4. Class conflict. Blanche comes from a once aristocratic family, while Stanley is working class. Their conflict is not just personal but cultural and socio-economic. Blanche's disdain for Stanley and Stanley's aggression toward Blanche stem from class insecurity and resentment. The play reflects the shift in post-war American values, where old hierarchies crumble and new, more brutal dynamics emerge. 5. Gender and power. Williams explores gender dynamics, particularly the subjugation of women in a patriarchal society. Blanche is judged for her sexuality, while Stanley is empowered by his. Stella's return to Stanley after violence, and Mitch's rejection of Blanche, reflect how male desire and dominance define social relationships, often at women's expense. Symbols and motifs. 1. The streetcar. The literal streetcar named Desire represents the inexorable pull of passion, leading Blanche to tragedy. Its name and route serve as a metaphor for Blanche's life, desire, then death. 2. Light and darkness. Blanche avoids bright light, symbolizing her fear of truth and aging. Light exposes reality, while darkness allows illusion. I don't tell the truth. I tell what ought to be the truth. The paper lantern she places over the bulb becomes a symbol of her need to filter reality. 3. Bathing. Blanche bathes obsessively, symbolizing a desire for purification and renewal. It's a ritual of cleansing away guilt and memories. Each bath is a futile attempt to wash away her past and regain innocence. 4. Music. The Varsuviana polka recurs whenever Blanche is reminded of her husband's suicide. It acts as a mental trigger, marking her slide into psychosis. Jazz and blues underscore the action, grounding it in New Orleans's sensual, chaotic environment. Dramatic style and structure. 1. Poetic realism. Williams blends naturalistic dialogue with lyrical imagery, allowing characters to express their inner emotional lives. Blanche's speeches often veer into poetry, contrasting with Stanley's bluntness. 2. Memory play techniques. Although not labeled a memory play like The Glass Menagerie, Streetcar uses subjective time and stylized lighting, music to dramatize Blanche's psychological state. 3. One set structure. The entire play takes place in the Kowalski apartment, creating an atmosphere of claustrophobia and emotional intensity. The lack of privacy mirrors the characters' inability to escape conflict. Historical and cultural context. Premiered in post-World War II America, a time of shifting values and rising materialism. Reflects anxieties over gender roles, class mobility, and psychological instability. Williams, a gay Southern playwright, was deeply interested in outsiders, repression, and fragility. The play was revolutionary for its frank treatment of desire, mental illness, and domestic violence. Conclusion. A Streetcar Named Desire is a modern tragedy, charting the downfall of a woman who cannot reconcile illusion with reality. Through poetic dialogue, powerful symbolism, and psychological depth, Tennessee Williams crafts a portrait of emotional disintegration in a hostile world. Blanche's fate is tragic not just because of her flaws, but because of a society that punishes sensitivity, memory, and vulnerability. Stanley wins, but at a moral cost. Stella survives, but only by choosing denial. Whoever you are, I have always depended on the kindness of strangers. Blanche's final line is both heartbreaking and revealing. It speaks to human need for connection, even when the world offers none. The play endures as a powerful meditation on identity, loss, and the brutal beauty of truth.